Hey guys, welcome to RTRC. So, what do I have on my bench? Well, I have a new heli. So, this is the Flywing FW450. It is a version 3 of this heli. Now, I've not actually seen the version 2 or the version 1, so I can't really give you a comparison, but I thought I'd let you know a little bit about this heli and what my initial thoughts are. So, let me pop that down there. Background information. I am not an expert heli flyer. You know, I've got a couple of OMPs up here. You can see tiny little helis. I fly them, they're great. And I've also got a little T-Rex 450 up there, and that's also great. But quite simply, I have never flown a big heli. You know, I just don't have the desire to, because, well, I fly jets, I fly gliders, I fly all sorts of things, and, well, big helis don't appeal. So, I kind of was looking for something, I guess, a little bit OMP-ish, but not. Now, I guess what's probably key to say within this is what I wanted was a heli which, relatively easy to maintain. I'm not so interested in belt drives, torque drives, and all the hardware and rubbish that goes along with it. And I guess I also wanted a heli which gave me some kind of get out of jail card. So to give you an idea, I can do basic acro with helis. I can loop, I can roll, etc. But it's kind of really challenging with a heli. When you say you want to step over to the next level, which is saying I want to maybe do TikToks or, you know, fly around inverted and do all this sort of stuff. Well, a get out of jail card is nice. And what I mean by that, and it's something that where is it back there? The OMPs that I've got, what they have is the ability to trigger an auto level, you know, or an auto stabilize. And one of the things I've done on my X20 over here is I've got some stick switches with a little button just on the end of the stick. I don't know if we can actually see it there. Oh, maybe, I don't know. You can see there's a little button there. And I configure that when I press that momentary button, basically the heli will instantly level and just basically stabilize. It doesn't necessarily go up or down or anything like that. You know, it just flicks it the right way up and gives me the ability to say, oh my God, I've lost it. Instead of a 400 quid bang on the ground, I've leveled it, I've recovered, and now I can kind of say, well, actually, I can go try the maneuver again. So I wanted something that gave me that. And, you know, I looked around and I found the FW450. And one of the things that struck me is that it has the H1 flybarless system in it, made by Flywing, which effectively has a GPS on it, so it's got return to home, it's got auto level, it's got all of those kind of cool features. And, you know, there's no doubt that your die-hard heli guys, I know when I go to the club with this thing, they're all going to go, oh yeah, that's not a proper heli. Well, I'm not after a proper heli. I'm not after a 700 heli. I'm after something I can fly, do some basic stuff, and occasionally, if I cock it all up, to be quite simple, recover. And I think this might do it. So that's kind of cool. That was my background to why I wanted it. Now, about the heli, and I'll try to show you a few little things. A couple of things which are different on this heli. Whoa, I'll swing that around so we get to the camera. First off, you will notice there's a brushless motor on the back. And that's kind of interesting because most helis will have collective sort of pitch control on the tail rotor, whereas this follows the same sort of guise that the OMPs have, which is just a motor on the back with a single propeller. Now, I dare say that will probably have an impact on things like flying at tail first. Maybe it doesn't control or respond as much, but for what I do, it's going to be fine. And I guess on top of it, it's fewer mechanical parts. So fewer mechanical parts are going to mean easier to repair when it all goes inevitably wrong. It does introduce an interesting thing. There clearly are 3 wires running back to this brushless motor. And what that does, if I take the heli sort of blades off here, we'll swing that around. What that means is on this heli, I've got a little lever over here, and if I pop that, I believe if I pull it up, let me see which way, or is it down? Yeah, down. I can basically take that off. And look how easy that was. So basically for travel and transport, I can detach that. And I think you can probably see on the camera we got kind of like an XT60, but it's, I think they're like an M something as the series, but it's got three connectors and they plug in. Reassembly of the heli, I get that, and essentially push the button, pop it in, thank you very much, we are back to being a full heli. Superb. So what this comes down to is very easy to transport, very easy to maintain. You know, you can shrink this thing down quite small, and with that in mind, there's actually quite a small little box that it all goes into, which is kind of nice. Now, the other thing about this, which is kind of cool, as the model came, this was the model, I bought the version without the transmitter. And my first thoughts were, oh my god, how am I going to plug this all in and get it working? Well, it was dead easy. On the bottom, down here, was a servo lead. And that's basically designed to take an S-bus signal into it. So, needless to say, I got a little FreeSky receiver, plugged the S-bus into it, job done. And, well, couldn't have been simpler. What else? Battery. Hey, crikey, we got blades. I really need to get these foam things on. Let me do that or I'm going to have heli blades flying everywhere. Much easier to do when it's secured. So, battery-wise is quite interesting. It's kind of quite a neat solution. You notice it all seems pretty secure here. We get that. Boop. Open that door and there's the battery. And we've got a simple little lever, and out it comes with a little tray and a Velcro strap. So very, very easy to get that all assembled and working. It's kind of, it just works. So what else? There's some PC software for the desktop which you can configure everything. It's kind of, you know, you plug into the USB lead on the back of the heli over here. You know, in my case, I took the props and everything off because that's what you should do when you're powering these things up. And it's very, very simple and easy to configure this heli. It comes down to basically 4 or 5 channels. You follow the guide on the screen and you can configure and enable each mode. So it took probably about 10 minutes to get it going. So, all good. But I then hit a snag. I'm just going to pop the heli down. So, I hit a small snag in that I got this all done, I plugged it in, I thought, let me try power this heli up. Well, I couldn't power it up. So I did a little bit of Googling, and I discovered it's quite simple. So in my case, I use this as my arm and disarm switch, which is kind of obvious for me, that's where I use it. But this heli has a full-blown flight controller in it. And what that means is once you have a GPS lock up and running, what you need to do is get your sticks and you move them both outwards like that with the heli disarmed, and you'll see that the status light on the heli goes from a flashing green to a solid green. At that point you have now armed it, and if you toggle the switch, boom, motor spins up. So it's kind of quite straightforward, but it's not obvious when you first get it. But yeah, so where are we at? Well, I've not actually flown it yet, so I'm hoping today, if the rain subsides, I'm going to do a hover test in the garden. Now, considering this has GPS on it, and it's pretty much when you go to stabilized mode, it says, right, you're locked and solid, I'm anticipating it will be a case of hover and pretty much hands off. But we'll find out, won't we? But stay tuned for that, because it might well be straight after this that you're going to get a video about this. And I now see I've got a mate of mine busy phoning me, so I'm going to finish this video, go get the recording of this, and we will chat soon. Cheers, guys. Okay, so as expected, I got out into the garden, I got the heli to power up. The overall good news, it worked. I took off, I had it loitering in the garden, it does everything as expected. Now, it is kind of strange with this heli, because when you power it up, you actually have zero control input. You can move your sticks and nothing moves. The flight controller is 100% in control when you are in stabilized mode. And it's quite scary, because it's kind of, it doesn't feel right. But you know what? You arm it, you basically say spin up the props, and up it goes, the rotor's lifted off the ground, and you're good to go. And it kind of just sits there hovering. Now, I would say straight off, it was not perfect. I wouldn't call it an utterly DJI sort of quad rock solid, you are in this location and you're not moving full stop. It tends to go round in small circles a bit. Now, typically this is, well, certainly in the quadcopter world, that's often because the magnetometer on board is getting a little bit of electrical interference and you kind of get this fishbowling type stuff. There's a little bit of that on it. But you know what? We're not talking a deviation in my garden in relatively strong wind, maybe half a meter that it was fishbowling. You know what? That's good enough. That's staying put. Where I put it down is where it's staying. I was happy, as you can see in the footage, to kind of just let it hover and do its thing. So all up, looks good. The big question, how will it handle 3D? Well, I don't know yet, because I'm not going out flying today. It's windy, it's gusting, there's bits of rain coming through. I'll try that another day. But yeah, all up, it looks good. Anyway, hope this has been a little bit insightful and of use to you guys. If you do like the video, click subscribe. Apart from that, enjoy. Cheers.